Hello, everyone, and welcome to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I'm really happy to be here. I'm Nipasa, your host for today's session. And before we head on with our webinar for today with our amazing guest, I have this very important disclaimer to read. And that is by watching our videos, you agree and understand that the by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. So, once again, folks, thank you so much for joining us here on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. We are streaming live right now on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and on X. So, please feel free to join us. It'll be really nice to have your participation. All you have to do is comment wherever you're watching us. And also, if you are in America, you can call us on this number 425-436-6335, and the access code is 988-888. Take this as an opportunity because we are going to be joined by a very familiar face who has been with us, for I think almost a year now. But it's really great to keep having him because he has such great insights to share, and he is none other than immigration attorney from SPB Law Firm, attorney Chand Parvathaneni from Dallas, Texas. So please help me welcome him back once again. Hi, Chanda. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you're doing great today.
Thank you, Nipasa. Yeah, I hope everything is good on your side, and thank you for inviting me to be on this
Thank you
show.
so much. And I'm pretty sure you know that it is a very busy schedule for you, especially with the Trump 2.0 and this past week, with all executive orders being signed. So I'm really, really honored, and I truly appreciate that you have taken some time out of your busy schedule to be with us. So I'm excited for today's session. And if you could tell us what can folks out there expect, on today's discussion.
Sure. So we have seen about, a week of President Trump's administration, the second term, and in the last couple of days, we've been seeing a lot of issues. We are seeing a lot of media articles and news reports. Some of it is real, some of it is fake. We're seeing all kinds of news, and I think today, what I want to discuss is the trends in the last 1 week or so. We have done H-1B filings, we have done I-140 filings in the last 1 week. We have seen approvals in the last 1 week. So I want to discuss about what are the recent trends we are seeing in terms of employment-based cases, and also compare that with what's happening on the deportations, because the deportations have started. People are getting arrested, and what's going on? What kind of people are getting arrested? What kind of means is the administration using to send people back? How quickly are they doing it? And so we'll discuss things around it, its impact to legal immigration, its impact to illegal immigration. Because when we talk about immigration, we see two kinds of situations. One, somebody is actually entering into the country and properly inspected by CBP, properly going through the visa process. And we have those kind of immigrants who are in the country who are also concerned. Then we have other side where people have entered into the country without any kind of inspection. So we don't even the government does not even have a proper data on them, and they're not inspected. So the rules are different when somebody is coming into the country through an inspection, and the rules are a little bit different. What happens if somebody overstays their visa? They can come into the country legally. Probably they're not in the country legally right now. And then there is this other aspect where somebody just came into the country day one itself, they were illegal. So the current regulations, the current law, it has uh, various laws on all these situations. And I think we'll talk about the legal immigration part and also the illegal immigration part, and it's like impact all across the board. Because in the end, a lot of these people are actually contributing to US economy. They are actually working in United States, whether it's legal or whether somebody's working in illegal status. They're still contributing by working for the local economies. So definitely, I think there'll be impact, and what kind of impact is expected, and what are the legal rights for people in various situations. I think we'll probably use that this time to discuss those things. And the goal again is to educate people with the importance of compliance, with the importance of following the rules and doing everything right, so they're not even in a bad situation where they have to worry about deportation.
Absolutely. And thank you so much. Those were great points to keep in mind. And folks out there, today we are going to, revolve around whatever Chan has just mentioned just now, because our topic of discussion for today is how are Trump's deportation plans reshaping immigration and employment cases in the US. And as we see, whichever side we look, whichever site we visit, everywhere we see is Trump, his decisions, his orders, and we hear about a lot of deportation cases, immigration, not just being affected in the United States, but the whole world is getting affected by, all these laws and orders that Trump has passed on. So it's going to be a very, very interesting topic. Stay with us, friends. And I'll quickly say hello because we have Sunita who has joined us with your comments. Sunita, stay with us. We are going to take your comments. And if possible, anyone out there who's watching us, do join us on call. It'll be very nice to have you join us. So, with that said, let's jump into our topic for today and talk about deportation. So how do you think, Chant, that Trump's deportation plans, like using military planes, reshape the future of U.S. immigration policies?
Sure. So in general, like when we talk about immigration, illegal immigration or deportation in United States, so the way it works is immigration comes under the federal law, and what that means is the local state police. So like every city, you'll see the police departments. The police departments don't enforce the immigration law, and what that means is if the police stops somebody and they don't typically ask about immigration, they don't typically enforce immigration rules. It's the federal government that typically enforces immigration, and that basically boils down to ICE, called Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or CBP. So they are the people that typically enforce the federal law. So a CBP officer, a federal government officer, the ICE officer. So they have the power of actually asking people about immigration and enforcing the immigration rules. So nowadays, what we are seeing is in the way of doing things. President Trump has stated that people who have criminal backgrounds, they are the ones that are going to be targeted. And in terms of what is happening is ICE seems to be specifically targeting people with criminal background. So I think they're not going after people who don't have criminal aspects. When I talk about criminal, a part of the administration is talking about anybody in the country illegally, technically has broken a law, so they are criminals. But I think in reality, I think they are actually targeting people with a real criminal background. But what is happening is there is collateral damage, and what that means is when there is a raid, a nice raid, they're going after people. They have information that they have some criminal background on their records, but unfortunately, the people around them, even if they don't have a criminal background, they will have collateral damage, which means when ICE is picking up a person who has criminal background, at that time, if they see somebody around who does not have criminal background but is illegal, they're getting picked up. And in the recent times, in the last week or so, what we have also seen is military planes are being used for deportations. So military apparatus is getting used, and normally it doesn't happen that way, because the way the deportations happen are the federal government, the federal officers, they do the deportation, but typically military planes are not used. But because President Trump's administration, I think their focus on deporting people, specifically people with criminal background, what they've said is they're going to spend money, they're going to start using military planes, and that has already started. And we are seeing military planes being used. And what that means is you can see significant ramping up and enforcement using military planes, and it's a standard shift from the standard way of doing things. So in reality, that leads to a quicker and a faster deportation process, because normally it's a very slow process. You have people in detention centers. It's a very lengthy process nowadays. Using military planes, what that means is people are getting deported very quickly. And using military planes, is it a good way or not? There is a lot of debate, and a lot of countries, the countries where these planes are going into, uh, they've raised concerns. They're raising concerns that these people are not really criminals. They are people who just went for looking for better options for their family. So it's a bad message when people are actually put in handcuffs and sent back in military planes. So I think that's a debate that's still ongoing. But at this point of time, we do see that there is a militarization of immigration policy using military apparatus, and definitely there's going to be impact on immigrant communities. There is a lot of fear. There's a lot of anxiety in immigrant communities because what happens is we're seeing a lot of mixed families. Somebody's a U.S. citizen. They have U.S. Children, U.S. citizen children, and then say one of the people in their family is illegal. So now it's causing more fear, more anxiety, and it's leading to a chilling effect where immigrants sometimes probably are even avoiding to seek help or reporting crimes when they are really like a victim of some crime. I think the reason is they don't want like the federal officers to come and then deport somebody in
Yes.
their house. So even if some people are a victim of a crime, I think they're just hesitant to ask for help. So these are the kind of consequences we can see, and since it's just a week, I think we just have to see how things will go in the future. But definitely, we're seeing the trajectory of U.S. immigration policy shift. And right now, I've never seen enforcement so aggressive. Yes, enforcement was always there, and I think we talk about the last 4 years of Biden administration, and that administration, I think were not as aggressive as the current administration, and that led to more problems because I think it led to more uh, people with criminal background slip into the country, which I think caused this whole issue right now with aggressive
Yes.
enforcement. And we'll have to see how things will go into
Yes,
the future.
absolutely, Chand. Very well put. And when you talk about aggression, yes, it's like never before. And not just that, I mean, ICE raids are so frequent, and it just started, I think, the second day or the first day itself when Trump joined office. And not just that, ICE are also being joined forces by FBA, DEA. They've just become stronger, and they have been doing these raids right, left, and center. So it's really scary a situation out there.
So, yeah, so typically they're using like various. Yeah, I think it's not just ICE. I think they're using all federal officers from various other departments. So it's like multiple departments from the federal government. I think that are working together to deport people. But I think the goal, I think, it's still to deport criminals.
Yes,
I think they're like talking about like hardcore criminals. But unfortunately, I think some other people are
affected.
getting impacted because of collateral damage. But I think at least the goal is like be very very aggressive with people with criminal
Yes,
backgrounds, because unfortunately I think there are some people who are like murderers, who are child rapists out there who are illegal, and I think nobody wants people with such criminal backgrounds. But because of focus on these guys, some people who don't have any criminal background are also getting
so true,
impacted.
so true. And yes, the discussion is on full, so keep joining us. It'll be really nice to have you comment and join us on call. The phone number is 425-436-6335, and the access code is 988-888. I mean, you can even join us to tell us if you are facing any such issues with yourself, and maybe, yes, join us. So it'll be very nice to know your story as well. So, yes, Chanda, thank you for that highlight and a good start to our session of discussion for today. Moving on, I have another question, and that is, these deportations are already started to happen. And how do you think these deportation policies are impacting immigrant families also who are really dependent on US jobs, and maybe they're sending money to their home countries as well, to their families?
Sure. So most of the immigrants are actually like hardworking people. They actually come here to work hard and provide for their families. So a lot of people, majority of the people are of that attitude. And unfortunately, now what's happening is I think people are impacted. I think they will have profound impact on their families because there is going to be economic disruption. These immigrants, they depend on working in US. They support themselves and they also support their families back home. And these mass removals there and this increased fear of deportation, sometimes people are losing jobs, and it's a sharp loss of income. And not only that, I mean, again, people who are legal, who are actually working hard, the whole uncertainty and anxiety and job security, things like what will happen when I apply for my visa extension, my H-1B extension, will I get a denial? So I think that uncertainty and anxiety is like increasing even among people who are having a legal immigration status, people on F1, for example. They're worried what tomorrow when I apply for H1, will I get an approval or not? What is going to happen? So all this anxiety, will there be backlash against immigrants? So all that uncertainty and anxiety, I think what's causing is people are not able to perform to the best of their abilities because people are depressed. People are sometimes not sure what is happening. And this, I think, will definitely have an impact on remittances, not only remittances, their own productivity. I think the productivity is going to get impacted. There's going to be psychological and emotional strain. The whole this daily news about deportation, it's creating an environment of constant stress. This is for people who are legal and also people who are not illegal. Even because people who are legal, they're just worried because I mean sometimes the media makes it sound like uh, there is so much of backlash against immigrants. It may or may not be true, but the way the media, when I talk about media, even the social media, because social media, not everything that shows up in social media is the truth. And I've seen like so many reports where people call our office about something they heard on social media, somebody getting deported, even if they had a visa. So all these kinds of stuff. So definitely, I think we are seeing increased psychological and emotional strain, and it's not only going to impact the immigrants, it's also going to impact local economies because these people work in the local areas, they contribute to the economies, they rent houses, they spend money, and they do all these things because it's people want to work hard. Majority of the people are working hard. I think eventually, I think what it's going to lead is it is definitely going to lead to labor shortages, and we're going to see some impact on local economies if things are not done right. If all they're focusing is on people with criminal backgrounds and that is their focus, I think we will not see a major impact. But if they're like focusing on everybody, and again, we don't know where it'll lead to, but there is a good chance of an impact on the local economy.
Them would be people who are falling out of status, maybe people who are, you know, I mean, I think I was sorry, my audio I was muted, but I was saying, very well put, and I think yes, very surely that the worst are going to go out of the country first, but following them could be, people who are going maybe getting out of status, people who have overstayed, people who they really need to get their visa aligned with their status, right? They have to be in status to be able to be there. And another thing which I wanted to ask is, Chand, you have mentioned about the fear of being caught, if you are illegal in the country, and even more that you are a criminal. I mean, Trump or no Trump, right? Wasn't that fear always there? Like, what if somebody catches that I am out of status? Didn't they have this fear already?
Yeah, I think. I mean, we have not seen ICE raids and these kinds of stuff on a large scale previously, and now what's happening is I think there's a lot of rhetoric in the media, and not only that, all of a sudden, like somebody's putting a post in the social media saying like there was this raid, that raid. Some of it is true, some of it is false. So I think the fear was always there, but I think illegally. Um, I think. I mean, it's a little different because people who are into the country in a legal fashion, what happens is they
Yes.
have an I-94. They know how long they're supposed to stay. They know that before that day they're supposed to apply for an extension. So there is a process. And those people, because I mean, they've given their fingerprints at the port of entry, so a lot of it is trackable. And for the people who have slipped into the country without any kind of inspection, it's a little different because the country probably a lot of them they're not even recorded. Their information is not even recorded. So I think
Yes.
there's a little bit of difference between this two sets of people who came with inspection and who did not come with inspection. So people who
Yes.
came into the country with inspection, typically they have the record out there because uh, there are fingerprints with CBP, there are fingerprints with the federal government, and so on. So it's a little bit of different, and I think the people who are in the country illegally, who don't have any record, because nobody even knows where they are unless somebody has done some criminal act and there is some record somewhere. If not, it's a little bit of challenging effort, which is what I think the government is trying to do. I think they're trying to kind of at least figure out initially as a priority people with criminal backgrounds.
Yes, 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 absolutely. Thank you so much, Chand, for that, detailed explanation. And I have more questions. So, but before I think we move on to our questions, I wanted to take up this question we received on, I think, WhatsApp. If Control can put it up, it's from Megha, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Megha. So it's a WhatsApp question. So Megha is asking, "Hello everyone. I need to ask a question. I am on day one, I think D1 CPT, but I need to go to India for family emergency. I'm planning to come on H4. So, do you think is there any possibility to get my visa rejected, my H4 visa, as I am on day one CPT? Really appreciate it.
Sure. I think in general, when somebody has a valid visa and they're entering into the country on that valid visa, on the terms of that visa, and they have not violated their status in the past, usually they should not have a problem. Again, the entry is never 100% guaranteed. That being said, uh, usually they are not going to have a problem. So if somebody is coming on H4 to be as a dependent, they should, and their goal is to be uh, living in the country as a spouse of some H-1B holder, they should not have a risk. And even if somebody has taken day one CPT, as long as they have uh, properly been admitted to that school, they have actually studied in that school, attended classes, and taken the CPT program in a legal way, going through the school DSO and all those things, they should not have any problem. So CPT by itself is not illegal. The only thing is CPT has a lot of requirements that they're supposed to keep and maintain F1 status. And as long as somebody is going through the process and properly maintaining a valid F1 status and properly working on CPT, their future entries should not be impacted. So if somebody wants to come back on H4, I don't see it as a problem. Usually, you should not have any issue. And people do it all the time. I mean, somebody's on F1, they get married, they go to the country, they come back on a different visa, in this case, H4. So I don't expect issues. That being said, uh, an entry is never 100% guaranteed, so you can always expect questions at CBP. That being said, legally, it is totally allowed, and people should not have any issues coming back on H4.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Megha, for participating. And my WhatsApp number, I think I will just say so that people out there, can even call me there, or better just message me also. My phone number is 408-335-6444. So please feel free to join me there as well. Otherwise, the number is 425-436-6335, and the access code is 988-888. So, yes, that was Megha's question on WhatsApp. Thank you so much. So, now, Chand, I would really like to know, what challenges do you think individuals and families are facing, after deportation under stricter and even these sudden immigration rules?
I think the immediate and the devastating challenge is getting separated from the family members, because I think sometimes when uh, they have a family here, one of them is illegal, one of them is legal, for example, and they get deported. I think the fact that they're going to be separated from their family, I think that separation, I think is going to be huge, and not only emotional and psychological trauma for that individual, but also for the entire family members. So that is like the biggest thing. And then the financial hardship, because somebody who's working is leaving and they cannot work. So if part of the family is like back in US, and that somebody has to leave the country or deported, I think definitely that financial hardship is a problem. And then I think another thing a lot of people are talking about is reintegrating into the home country. So if somebody has been in this country for a long time, and now they're deported back to their home country, so the whole thing about um, reintegrating in the home country, I think it is going to be difficult. And because there are going to be cultural barriers now, again, going back and all those things. So it is going to exacerbate, I mean, it is going to like increase their struggle. And so we don't know. I mean, again, there are more than 10 million illegal people in the country, and I definitely don't think that everybody is going to be deported back because of practical obstacles and the realistic way of looking at things. But I think the last count I heard was about 5,000 people are being deported, are caught so far in the last a week or so. So I think we're not. I don't really think it'll be like millions and millions of people at this point of time. So that being said, I think whoever are impacted, I think are going to face a lot of obstacles, and I think there is going to be an impact on children, especially if they have children, and a lot of emotional and mental health struggles for those folks. So, and that is why I think the one thing is I think yes, people have broken a law, but I think what normally people expect is the federal government is a little bit more shows a little bit more empathy and kind of focuses on people with real criminal backgrounds, not just go after everybody like immediately, but at least immediately, I think kind of show some empathy to most of the normal people. Maybe just target people with huge criminal backgrounds, at least initially.
Yes, yes. And also with regard to birthright citizenship, right? I mean, there was that whole news, and though it's on hold right now, I think people are very much still worried, anxious as in what's going to happen. So I'd really, say to folks out there, stay strong.
Yeah.
And if you are abiding by the rules, there's nothing to be afraid of. Right, Chan?
Yeah, birthright citizenship, I don't think it'll pass because
Yes.
we have this constitutional amendment that is out there from 1868, and we
Right.
also had the Supreme Court deal with this issue in 1898, a long time back. So the case is properly decided. So I don't think the courts will do anything different. And I
Hmm.
think the only way to do that is through a constitutional amendment, and that's the only legal way to do it. And again, a constitutional amendment is not easy. It requires like a whole big process. The states have to agree, the Senate has to agree, the House of Representatives has to agree. So there's a whole big process. So for all practical purposes, I don't think it is happening anytime soon. But as far as the courts are concerned, they have a temporary restraining order. They have not given a long-term injunction, but temporary orders are passed. And even if it
Yes.
goes to the appeals court down the line, even if it goes to the Supreme Court down the line, I don't think the courts will do anything different because we have a legal precedent in the United States. It's already decided by the courts previously. So I'm a little skeptical that the courts will even interfere. I think the burden will fall back on the Congress and the states to pass a constitutional amendment. If that passes, yes, it is possible. But for that to pass, I don't think there is a easy route to that.
So that is at least one good news, I think, a little relaxing and hopeful. So, folks out there, I think, yes, that's some good news for you. So, if you want to actually have a one-on-one consultation with Attorney Chand Parvathaneni, you can even call him up or call or email him about yourself, your status, and it's always best to consult with an expert, an attorney who's going to be able to guide you best with your immigration status. So his phone number is 817-523-8247. And you can email Attorney Chand Parvathaneni by emailing him at law@spblawfirm.com. And go visit www.spblawfirm.com to get to know more about Attorney Chand Parvathaneni and Sim Parvathaneni and Brown Law Firm in Dallas, Texas. So, yes, those were a few updates, and it's been a great session so far. We also have Nilanjana join us. So, Nilanjana, just stay with us. We will take up your questions a little later in the show. So, now, though, we should quickly take up another WhatsApp message which we had received, and this is from Kakoli. Hello, I have a B1 visa applied by my current employer, Amazon. Now I would like to visit my family in USA for a small party. Can I use the same visa to enter? If so, what documents do I need to carry with me?
So one of the things that will happen, even if one has a visa, is at the port of entry. So whenever somebody lands in United States, they have to go through CBP inspection. And one of the things that the CBP is going to do is ask questions and see what somebody's intent is. And if somebody's intent is not matching the terms of that visa, they might have a problem. So in general, if somebody has a tourist visa and they go for tourist reasons, they should not have a problem as long as the intent is disclosed and the officer is okay. So in this case, if it is a business visa and somebody is going on tourist purposes, again, in the current way of doing things, because now rules have changed a little bit and now things are looked at a different way. So so the entry is at the discretion of the CPP officer. So what they're saying is admission into United States. It's a privilege. It's not a right just because somebody has a visa. That's the way of looking at the current uh, the way of looking at things. So what that means is at the end of the day, it is that the CPP officer, and if CPP officer feels that somebody is not doing something that is a requirement of that visa class, they could deny entry. So just having a visa is not enough. The actual the entry and the intent and the purpose should match the purpose of that visa class.
There you go, Kakoli. You have your answer. And always consult an attorney. So we have Attorney Chand's contact details scrolling on the screen. You may note it down and contact him as well for further details. And for now, Chand, we also have a lot of industries like farming, manufacturing, IT also. They are all being affected by this mass deportation policies. So, what do you have to say about the impact on these and also the target immigrant workers?
Sure. So I think every industry is different because in the United States, when we take a look at IT sector versus a farming sector, you're going to see uh, completely different impact based on the current rules. Because if you look at the current the policies, so President Trump last week, even after his swearing in ceremony, he stated that he likes H-1Bs. He clearly stated that the country needs H-1B, and what that means is, so when you look at the IT industry is heavily staffed by people from other countries. A lot of Indians work in IT. So IT by nature of the industry heavily depends on H-1B employees, probably also L-1 employees, probably also O-1 employees. So IT sector typically does not have a lot of people who are illegal working in the industry by the nature of the industry. And to me, based on the current news that is coming out of the Trump's administration, his advisors, there might be scrutiny on H-1Bs, but they have no intention of completely removing H-1B. So sectors like IT, I don't think they will see a lot of impact. The reason being, people already there is a process for the H-1Bs, and the industry is not heavily staffed by people without a legal status. On the other hand, when you look at farming depends a lot on immigrant labor, and a lot of them are undocumented workers. So things like harvesting, planting, packaging, these kind of industries, they have hired a lot of undocumented workers. And the current administration, they're focusing more on undocumented workers, people who are in the country illegally. So these are low wage positions, and these are positions that a lot of US citizens are not willing to fill. This low wage agricultural jobs. And when we're seeing mass deportations typically happen in these kind of fields. So I do think that you will see a labor shortage if mass deportation continues for a long period of time. And we might see labor shortage in, say, farming industry, or probably some areas of manufacturing industry. But on the IT sector, I don't think we will see a major impact. Uh, but what we will see in IT sector is a lot of people, they're seeing wrong news in the social media. So they are probably going to be so scared. They probably are going to see this as something that is very scary. Like they probably will think that, is it even worth going to US and working in IT sector? So what I see is, if the rhetoric is bad and if the media projects these deportations in a wrong way, the foreign talented foreign workers more than likely will be deterred into coming into US in the first place, and that would definitely stifle growth and innovation in the tech industry. So I think in general, I don't think we should see an impact in the IT industry for people who are already in the country, but people who want to come to US to work in IT industry, highly talented people, those people might be second guessing in immigrating to United States. So we will have to wait and watch and see how this rhetoric continues and so on. But I do see this risk that some people will be hesitant to immigrate to United States.
That is very much happening. I think people out there are probably looking out for more options because They wouldn't want to go to the US and then know the next thing that they cannot stay there anymore. It's going to be very, very expensive for them, right? So yes, moving on, since they're all facing individuals, I mean, individuals or families are facing all these sorts of deportation or are on the verge of facing one. What options do you think are available for them, under these new plans? Maybe you can keep it short and just give them some points what they can do, Chan.
Yeah. So I think people who are in the country, anybody who's especially who are in the country through a legal process, like showing a visa, what everybody should do is they should take a look at their I-94, and they have to make sure they file an extension before their I-94 expires. That is very important. So that is the first thing that anybody in the country who is in a legal status should do. The reason is if somebody accidentally forgets to file for an extension before their I-94 expires, they will become illegal in the country. So that is one thing that people can do to ensure that they don't even have to go through this deportation mess. That's the first thing. And for other people, they might look at temporary protected status. Some countries, some individuals from some specific countries, they get this thing called temporary protected status. So one of the things that people can do is see if their country is designated as a TPS country. If so, they might get some relief. And right now, DACA, deferred action for childhood arrivals. So people who qualify under DACA, they have temporary relief. So they probably will not be deported right now. So anybody that is eligible under DACA, they can use that as relief. And some people who are inadmissible, they might be eligible for some waivers. So one of the things that people who are subject to deportation should do is see if they're eligible for any waiver. Waivers are extremely difficult, but under compelling circumstances, some people might be able to get a potential path. So that is one way. And another way is if somebody has a US citizen spouse, they might they might be able to apply for adjustment of status. Again, everybody's case is different, but one of the things that people can explore. And asylum, again, asylum is a program that sometimes people tend to misuse, but again, there are some people who genuinely will qualify for asylum. So that's another thing that people can take a look and see if they qualify for asylum. And asylum is only limited to people who fear persecution in their home countries due to some specific factors. So those people are allowed to file an asylum application, but there is a very strict process. So again, something for people to explore based on their scenario. So these are a couple of things that people can always explore, and then see if they come under any of these circumstances.
Thank you, Chand. Thank you. Those were very important points, and I hope that people out there, you heard what Chand has said and have noted down, and will look out for your options. Quickly, I will take up Suresh Kumar's comment on YouTube, and then we can take up some more of the other comments as well. So Suresh is asking, according to the new provision of H-1B, I can start my entrepreneurship. What would you like to say on that?
Yeah. So I think that's a great feature that a lot of folks out there should explore. And this new rule that just got into effect since January 18th, what it says is if somebody starts their own company, they own 100% stake in the company. Those people can have that entity, the entity that uh, they started. That entity can sponsor them. So it's like I'm an entrepreneur. I started my own company. Now the rules allow that company to sponsor your own H-1B. The only thing is your initial visa validity will be only for 18 months, but that's still a good option. And you still have to pay yourself. So the company will still have to pay you. You still have to demonstrate how the company will have money to pay you, and what your idea is, what your company is, and all those things. But at least now we have a pathway. So for a lot of folks out there who are budding entrepreneurs who are starting their own companies, you should explore this option. And legally now it is possible, and you will be able to file for a H-1B. And if you're able to convince USCIS that this is a legitimate company, that it has a proper business plan, that it has the ability to pay you the salary, because the salary does have to meet the LCA obligations. If you're able to do it, you should be able to get this H-1B. And it's a very new thing. It just started on January 18th. So something out there that everybody who has a very good business idea, who have started their company, they should start exploring this option.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Suresh, for joining us here on YouTube. And you can also join us on call. The number is on the screen. And yes, to know more, maybe you can even contact Attorney Chand Parvathaneni. His details are scrolling on the screen below. So, Chand, we also have some questions from our Facebook group, so we would quickly like to address them as well. And when we have more time later, we can come back to our questions. So, Control, if you can display, yes. The first question we have is how many months it takes for I-797 approval for H-1B visa extension?
So when we talk about H-1B visa, we have multiple service centers. We have California Service Center, Nebraska Service Center, Vermont Service Center, and Texas Service Center that are currently handling H-1Bs. And what we are seeing is it is taking anywhere between 1 month to 6 months for majority of the cases to be adjudicated. And you're going to see this little bit of variation because it depends on which service center your case is, which officer is looking at your case, and so on. But starting from a month, we are seeing approvals or adjudications. And normally, what we suggest is if it is taking more than 6 months, maybe it's time where you explore the premium processing. And the rule for extensions is that once a company applies for an extension, there is something called a 240-day rule. So for a 240 days after your H1B expires, you are allowed to work in the country. Your I-94 automatically gets extended to a max of 240 days. So theoretically, even if your case is still pending, you can work for a maximum of 240 days when your H1B extension is filed. So normally what I suggest is wait up to 6 months. If it takes longer than that, don't wait until the 240 days, but right after 6 months, try to upgrade your case. So you definitely have an answer before your 240-day deadline is over.
Thank you so much, Chand, for taking that up. And I'm sure that was very helpful. And going on, let's move on to our next one. This is from an anonymous member in our group asking approved I 140 for H1B EB1C. PD is not current. Can I switch company?
So, so because the priority date is not current, you cannot file the 485. And what that means is if you switch your company, the new company will again have to do the EB, the I-140 once again. The only thing is when the new company does the I-140, you can recapture your previous priority date. But in terms of applying for a green card, if the prior company where you have the I-140, if that company withdraws the I-140, you might not be able to file the 485. So if you want to do the 485, eventually you will need another I-140 approval. The only good thing is that you can recapture your previous priority date. So remember that one thing: if you do switch, the new company will have to do an I-140. You can still get the old date back, but without the new I-140, the new company will not be able to sponsor your 485 and sign off on the supplement J.
Very important. Thank you so much, Chand, for highlighting those very important points. And thank you, anonymous member, for participating by commenting in our groups. So, folks, we are on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and on X. Our handle is Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. Please feel free to connect with us, join us by commenting, follow us, and yes, participate. Thank you so much. Let's go on to our next one. And this one is how many days is premium processing for H-1B transfer taking after January 18th executive orders? I know they don't impact directly, but I'm concerned because I am due for a travel to my home country. Any leads will be very helpful. Thank you.
So our office, we had a couple of cases filed after January 18th, and we got approvals for a few, and for a few they're still pending. So from a legal standpoint, it is 15 business days. So anytime now you should see some answer, but they can take up to 15 days. So every case is different. We've got a few approvals, few are still pending.
There you go. But do you suggest premium processing though than the regular ones?
At this point of time, I would say that premium processing is probably a good idea because there is so much of rhetoric out there and people are getting scared. So it's one thing out of the way. So you do a premium processing and the case is adjudicated. It's one less thing to think about. And in this current scenario, the more you wait, the more somebody else is going to stress you. You're going to read news and so
Mhm.
on. So the way I see it is, premium processing is one way of getting peace of mind. It's very expensive process. You have to pay government a lot of fees. It is $2,805 to the government. It's a lot of money, but again, uh, to a lot of folks out there who think that they're restless because of all this news out there, I do not see any problem. We're not seeing any bad uh, adjudications or policies being changed. So we're still seeing approvals even in the last 8 9 days, and even the RFEs that we're seeing, they seem to be the standard kind of RFEs that USCIS typically asks, because there are certain things that even USCIS has to follow. So other than the regular issues that they are raising, we're not seeing anything majorly different so far. So if anybody has a pending case out there, I definitely suggest getting it done in premium and getting it out of the way.
Thank you so much, Chand. Thank you for taking that up. And now let's go on to our next question. And this is also on our Facebook from another anonymous member saying, "Hi, my mother and mother in law both are coming to Chicago as my wife will be giving birth. I did a one-way ticket for them as we didn't know if they can or could not stay for 6 months or how long they can stay. Is it necessary to have a return ticket? Will they have issue at port of entry? If yes, is there a way to get fully refundable tickets that I can cancel as we are not sure about the return dates?"
So one of the things is, the port of entry. Definitely, the office is going to question them on their intent and what they want to do, and what their goals are. And this is what I see. If somebody's intent is not to stay temporarily and leave the country within their allocated time, which is usually 6 months, I can see the officer trying to cause an issue. And in this case, if somebody's intent is to stay longer for more than 6 months, more than likely the officer could cause an issue. And this rule, like the return ticket rule, it is never a written rule, but it's always been there, because I've always seen the officers ask about a written ticket, even prior to President Trump's January 20th swearing in. So this rule was always there, that the officers can check and see what's going on, and if they suspect that somebody's intent is not to leave the country in about 6 months, more than likely they will cause an issue. And we are hearing about people being sent back. So something I think everybody should be cautious about. The intent should be for a temporary purpose, and if you're not able to demonstrate that, a written ticket is one way to demonstrate your intent, what exactly your goal is. If not, the first thing that the officer is going to think is that yes, you don't intend to leave the country in about 6 months, which means you are a high risk candidate to be sent back.
So true, so true. And we even heard the news a few days back about an Indian couple, old couple actually. They were going to go visit their kids in the United States, but because they did not have a return ticket, they were sent back. And it was very harsh and unexpected. So,
Yeah.
I mean, to avoid all of
Yeah, and
that,
I think this rule was always there. Yeah, because this rule was always there, because I've seen this issue pop up a lot of times. It is just that it got highlighted recently. The reason is because of all this immigration rhetoric, that thing got highlighted.
yes,
Even before, the officers were like heavily scrutinizing this aspect, because what has happened is, during COVID time, a lot of people came into the country and filed for extensions. During COVID time, yes, they had a valid reason. And after that, I've seen a lot of people come into the country and apply for extensions after 6 months. They're seeing more and more of those situations. So for that reason, I think the scrutiny in general is that they want to make sure somebody is leaving the country uh, in a short time. And short time for them is less than 6 months. So the scrutiny is there. Not only that, another thing that people are going to have a problem with is if they leave the country and try to re-enter the country on a tourist visa immediately. So they left the country, and in less than 6 months somebody's trying to get back into the country. Even those cases, we expect to see issues, some people being sent back. So I think, as a good practice, a return ticket is important. And also, um, don't come into the country too often. So, which means that at least keep 6 months of gap between entry to entry. Otherwise, somebody is going to argue that you're misusing your tourist visa, and probably cancel the visa or send you back.
thank you so much, Chant, for taking that up. And those were great details that we really need to keep in mind. Thank you, anonymous member. And let's go on to our next question. So this one is hi, my visa will expire in February this year. Extension is in process since last 3 months with no status change. I don't expect to get the renewal by Feb looking at the current trend. My question is how people manage without driver's license. There are tons of things we need a car for here in America, and without availability to drive would greatly impact the day-to-day activities. Is there any alternatives apart from under and carpool? Is there any consideration by authorities?
Um, Again, so driver's license is like a local state thing. So every state is different. And what we are saying is some states, you take a receipt copy and show that your H-1B extension has already been filed. We are seeing some states issue temporary licenses based on that receipt copy for your extension. Some states are refusing. And I think what I suggest is uh, the premium processing. It costs about 2,805. So look at that cost versus carpooling or going in Uber and all those things. And if you feel that premium processing is going to be cheaper, I definitely suggest getting the case upgraded to premium so you can get an answer quickly and then not have to worry. But before doing that, go to your local state's DPS office and see if they can use your receipt copy and give you an extension. Some states are doing it based on that extension receipt. They're getting a short term extension. So that is the first thing probably you can try. And if they still refuse, the other option is probably go back to your employer and insist on premium processing. And that is probably the fastest way to get your approval and then get your
Yes,
license.
and I think you would also know your status with premium processing. It only takes about 15 days or so, right, Chand? So, yeah, so yes.
Uh, so the bad thing is it used to be 15 days until
Okay.
April 1st last year. Starting from April 1st, now it is 15 business days. So not calendar
Business
days, but it is
days.
business days. So they changed it a little bit
Thank you
last
so
year.
much, Chand. I mean, another point to keep in mind, folks. So 15 business days. Thank you. And I think with that, we have completed our Facebook group questions. And I have a few more questions, Chan. So if you don't mind, telling us, what should employers also
Hmm?
know about compliance and risks while hiring immigrant workers during these changing times?
Sure. Uh, so one of the things we hear about is the illegal immigrants being deported. But what's also going to happen is any employer who knowingly hires somebody who's not legal, I do expect criminal penalties for them. Some at least some penalties, maybe even criminal penalties for them, depending on how they're hiring people they know that are not legal in the country. What that means is every employer should follow the process. There is something called I-9. I-9 is a mandatory thing uh, for every employer like Microsoft, Google, or even a small consulting company. It doesn't matter. Every company that hires employees, citizens or immigrants, they are supposed to do and verify the I-9. So I-9 is very important. So what we suggest is every employer should be completely complying with the I-9 provisions. Make sure they have an I-9. Make sure they check the status before hiring somebody. If they don't do it, more than likely they will be at risk. If there is an audit down the line, or DOL visit, or a USCIS visit, or an ICE visit, they will be in risk. And sometimes, if the employee does something wrong, gives them a fake document, it's a different issue. But knowingly, if they hire somebody who's illegal, it's going to be a upfront. They are liable for major issues. So the good practice for every employer is adhere to the I-9 provisions, and as long as you keep doing it, you're relatively going to be safe. At least the government is not going to come after you.
Well, there you go. Thank you so much, Chand. And my next question is about these international agreements that are happening. With Trump putting up executive orders and so many changes, tariffs going high for different countries. So, how do these international agreements, such as between U.S. and Colombia, affect immigration enforcement and even employment policies?
Yeah. So one of the things is for people who are in the country illegally, I think the administration has already stated that they're going to start sending them back to their home country. And we have few countries who cause a problem. For example, China. China, I think, normally doesn't take people back that easily. So I think what President Trump is trying to do is trying to work with all the governments and trying to make sure that they take their citizens back. And some countries are agreeing because I think some countries see that as their moral obligation. It is somebody is a citizen of their country, they see it as their moral obligation. They're ready to take them back. For example, if you see India, India clearly stated that yes, they're going to take back their citizens once verified into their country. So most of the countries in general, what I am seeing is they are willing to take their citizens back. Some countries, I think, are trying to cause a problem. And last week we saw this news about Colombia. So Colombia initially stated that they don't want to take their citizens back. I think then the administration, I think, put some pressure and they try to put some visa bans and other steps to pressurize them. And at this point of time, looks like Colombia they agreed, and not only that, they did say that just don't do it in military planes, but as long as it is civilian planes, do it in a decent manner. We will take them back. So it looks like that issue is resolved, and that is what's going to keep on happening. What's going to happen is the administration is going to try to work with all these foreign governments to make sure that there is an agreement and people are sent back and those countries accept them back, which is what I think we will keep seeing in the future. And majority of the countries seem to be willing to take their citizens back.
So true, and we are seeing, many countries, even India is one of the major ones who are, joining hands in this deportation process. So, I mean, let's wait and see. We really need to keep, illegal immigrants aside and economic policies, on the other hand, totally different. So, yes, thank you so much, Chand. And I also got a couple more questions if you still got some time to be with us, if that's fine with you. Okay.
Sure, sure. Yeah.
So, my next question is, you as an immigration attorney, and I'm sure many folks out there, I mean, your colleagues as well at SPB Law Firm, and there are so many community groups also. Maybe you can tell us what are you doing, or how can, attorneys like you or community groups help individuals prepare for potential deportations that are happening and the changes in their legal status.
Sure. I think we get a lot of questions, and I think my practice is a lot on the employment side, and I work with a lot of employers. And the main cases that we see are like people who are wanting to work in this country on H-1B, or somebody who's a student on F-1 trying to work on H-1B, and so on. And what I see is, unfortunately, I mean, most of the people, they're highly qualified, but what they try to do is sometimes they don't follow the rules. They don't comply with the immigration rules. So what we try to do is we try to educate people and uh, talk about compliance. And because we don't want somebody to be in that situation where they are scared to be deported. I think our goal is to educate people so they're not even in that situation where they will have that risk of getting deported. And what that means is making sure you're always maintaining valid status in the country. So every visa class will have a set of rules. Always adhere to those rules. For example, if somebody is a student, the typical issues lately that we've been seeing is people are doing some part-time jobs. I mean, these students, they're like, for example, master's students. They already have a very good education. They're getting a master's degree. They are going to be highly skilled down the line once they get their degrees. So we don't want them to do anything that will jeopardize their career. And what that means is we discourage people from doing unauthorized employment. We discourage people from working in restaurants or working in the jobs because it is short term. Very soon they'll graduate. Very soon they'll have such a good career. Now, doing these kind of things now, they are stressed on what's going to happen and all these things. So rather to be in a situation where somebody is doing unauthorized employment or doing anything that is against the regulations, I think our goal is to educate people, let people be aware of the rules. We encourage people to uh, go through USCIS website and keep following up the regulations to ensure they are not even accidentally not complying with anything. And one of the things that a lot of people we have been seeing is lot of people on H4 or sometimes even on H-1B, they forget to check their I-94 every time they enter the country. Everybody's supposed to download their I-94 and look at the I-94 end date. Sometimes people don't see it. They assume that they can stay in the country until their visa is valid. Sometimes their I-94 is shortened for various reasons. Maybe their passport is expiring. And by the time they come to us, what happens is they are out of status. So our at least our work is heavily involved in educating people to make sure they are able to figure out their status, figure out their identity for end dates, and do these extensions, do these things that they're supposed to follow before they go out of status. So our focus is entirely on how do you maintain your status, how do you do things that are compliant with the law, and at the same time we also want to make sure that people, sometimes what happens is on the social media they get scared with things that are not true. Yes, there is a problem, but not on such a large scale where people have to be worried, because we've been getting calls this week, and one of the questions was, is everybody getting deported back who's on F1 and traveling out of the country on OPT? Things are not that bad. It's just that there is scrutiny, and their goal is, if somebody is following the rules, they will not have a problem. So things are not bad, or things are not anything where people have to really worry. It is just that there is going to be scrutiny, and what that means is, watch out what you're doing, watch out what you're doing on the social media. um, uh, Always follow the law. Don't drink and drive. Don't steal in the departmental stores, because we had some cases where somebody got drunk, drove, got caught. Now they have a big mess, because now they have a big RFE and all those things. So it's more about things that you can easily avoid, because uh, half of the problem is people accidentally getting into some issues that they don't really have any intent. So at least a lot of things can be avoided by getting properly
Yes.
educated about the rules, and that's the goal. Doing so, I think you will keep yourself safe, because if you don't break the rules, nobody can even touch you. Because this country follows due process. Due process works as long as you follow the process. You break the law, that is when you can't really use due process, because uh, the rules
Right, right.
say
Very
something.
well put, Chand, and thank you so much for that. And I'm sure that folks out there are able to take notes down, because these are very important points. And you are educated, you know what you're doing, and just don't act stupid. Don't do things that will make you fall in trouble. And with that said, Chand, we have a caller actually. She's online, and she's Satya. And Satya, please go ahead. Tell us where have you joined us from, and ask your question.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Hi, Chand. This is Satya here. I'm calling from Michigan. I have a quick question currently. I'm on my OPT. Initial OPT is going to be closed. But the question was a bit different. So I came to US in the year 2022 August. And initially when I entered, while filling my DS 160, from 2015 to 17, I did my master's in India, but I did not mention that while filling my DS 160. In the place of 15, 17, I kept it that I have already working in some company since 2015. Now, like my current company informed that they wanted to make me as a full-time employee for them. So now the question is, because in future, if my H1 got picked up and if I wanted to, go for stamping while filling the DS 116, so do I need to mention everywhere that I did my MBA in past, or I should completely remove that? So I don't know this. So I just have a question on this.
Sure. Sure. Uh, and I think from immigration perspective, if that omission was material to your visa, it could cause a problem. But I don't think it is material, because I don't really think you gain any advantage by omitting that information. That being said, I think what you should do is, at the next given chance, you should correct it. And what that means is, eventually when you go back to India, and you're going to apply for your H-1B,
Mm-hmm.
definitely put that information on your DS 160, because that is your chance to correct. If you correct something before they catch you, you should probably not have any issue, because this is such a simple thing and it is not really material to your case. So that accidental mistake that you did, next time correct it. Make sure the next time you do the DS 160, correct it. Okay, and put it. And if somebody has a question, you can answer it. And if they don't even question you, you pretty much disclosed it to them. Okay, so at next given chance, definitely disclose it, and I think you'll be fine, because I don't really think it is a material issue to
But I
your
cannot change the past one,
class.
right? I can't change the past one. But I have to accept that it
Um,
was done by all of a mistake, but a typo mistake, right?
right, because Right, because one time you make a mistake, that's okay. But again, the next subsequent chance that you have, where you will be able to correct it, you should correct it, because you don't want somebody to say that you misrepresented it even after knowing about it. Now that you know about it, I think put on your DS 160. I don't think it is material. I mean, you did not gain any advantage with your admission by omitting that information. Say, for example, you put fake experience, and because of fake experience, they thought you're qualified and gave you the visa. Then I see a problem. Yeah, so I don't think it is material, whatever that omission was. But again, definitely, I think next time, definitely include that on your DS 160. So nobody's talking about any kind of a misrepresentation in the future.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, but yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Okay, so Satya, is that all? Or if you have any other question, you can go ahead. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us from
Yeah,
Michigan.
that, yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to us. And folks out there, you can also join us on call. And our phone number is 425-436-6335, and the access code is 988-888. I think with that said, we should wrap up our show for today, Chand, and maybe leave our folks out there with what strategies that immigrant workers or immigrants they can adopt to stay safe and compliant with all these. The existing law, and the changes as well.
I think the main thing is, again, ensuring that you don't overstay your visa. And again, if somebody has overstayed their visa or did something, there are potential waivers that some people could be qualified. So at least, even if somebody is in not in status, try to kind of at least make sure you do something to proactively uh, get some relief under the current regulations, but don't just not do anything. So if you accidentally did some mistake, try to kind of figure out a way and see if you can get some relief using the existing regulations, and follow the law. And for everybody else who is in a legal status, make sure you accidentally don't do anything to jeopardize your legal status, and keep following the rules, keep applying for extensions on a timely manner, because if you miss filing for extensions on a timely manner, you will jeopardize your legal status and future entry into the country. So just try to be compliant and don't do anything very stupid, because things are like, some things are like very uh, it is like just common sense things, like should you work illegally, like off campus, things like can you work for some employer for cash illegally. So these kind of things, some things are common sense. So just I think try not to kind of do anything that is going to jeopardize your legal status in this country. And I think people who are actually following the rules, I don't think the administration is probably doing anything drastic. I think they're only talking about people who came into the country in an illegal way, and again, focusing on those who typically have criminal records. I think if people don't have criminal records in general, I don't think they should have a lot of issues. So people who are currently in the country, make sure you even accidentally don't do anything that could have criminal implications. And to me, that means speeding, DUI, theft, hitting your spouse, hitting your girlfriend, because even those things are big issues. Anything that is illegal, stay away from it. And I think that should kind of safeguard everybody's status.
Absolutely. And these are all very easily avoidable things. So, folks out there, play safe, stay safe. And thank you so much, Chand, for joining us on this amazing, insightful session. So much you have shared with us. The knowledge imparted, I'm sure, has helped everybody who joined us today. And really great to have you. I'm looking forward for February for another great session with you. So, so soon we are saying bye to January. So, really great that you joined us today, Chand, and I'm hoping to see you soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Nipasa. Thank you all.
Thank you, friends, and thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to us. We are Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, and folks out there, who got your answer. And Satya, thank you so much for joining us on call from Michigan. All the best for your future endeavors, and yes. To all you folks out there, stay tuned to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, because we got a lot more content coming up, and we also got daily immigration dose that's coming up at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And yes, it's Nipasa saying bye for now, and Chand also saying bye and thank you, everyone.